Okay, go ahead.
All right, guys, what's going on? I want to go over how we start our engagement training, which is the foundation of all of our training, right? This is by far some of the most important stuff you can do, okay? What we're gonna do today is kind of two things. One, we're gonna really start charging our clicker on top of building a lot of engagement. I've got Duke out here, and what we're gonna do is I'm gonna walk around and show you how we start this. Now, it's really important first though, before you start using your clicker with this, that you have value behind the clicker. So the first thing we always do with our dogs is make sure the dog will take food. So, Duke, dog's taking food, that's good. So now I can technically start charging my clicker, right? I click and I feed, okay? Click, feed. Now Duke, his clicker's already charged. So you can spend a couple days doing just that, right? But now we need to start moving around and working with him. So you can see we're out at an outside park here, outdoor park. And I have him on a long line. I've got a 10-foot leash on him. I like to really make sure that we do this always on leash, even if it's in your own yard, you guys. Your leash is your landline to your dog. So even in a fenced yard, put a 10 or 15-foot leash. I really like my 10-footers. The reason is because it's gonna stop your dog from bolting to the fence to chase a squirrel, right? To bark at another dog or a person walking by, right? They will get an immediate correction, and then you can reward with your click and food when they come back. So what we're doing here is going to be rewarding the dog for paying attention to us, right? Anytime they move towards us, we click and feed, okay? So what I'm gonna do is always walk opposite of my dog. The key here, you guys, is one, you always walk opposite of your dog, and two, you do this for 2 to 4 weeks. We don't ask for behaviors. This is the only way the dog eats, you guys, is by walking around and clicking and feeding. You must start in your backyard. Once your dog is dialed there, you move to the front yard, and then you slowly move on from there. At the end of 2-4 weeks, depending where your dog is, you need to be doing it outside at different parks. You must generalize it. Again, this is not about obedience. This is about engagement and building focus in your dog, okay? On top of teaching him the clicker, right? So I walk around, right? I walk, I go opposite. Dog comes back, I hit my clicker, I feed, I walk. Dog's next to me, I can click and feed. I walk away. Dog's next to me, I click and feed. So when the dog's next to me and I mark, I'm technically clicking for a heel, right? I'm teaching a heel. I walk opposite. Dog comes back, I click and feed. Working that recall, right? No commands. I stop, the dog stops with me, I can click and feed. Dog looks at me, I'm gonna click and feed right there. Eye contact, guys, you cannot reward it enough. And all I do is I walk. Dog looks at me, I click and feed, I walk away. You wanna get to the point where you can barely move, right? You barely walk, and your dog's already there. Look. Right, you stop, you backpedal, dog comes flying to you. I hit my clicker and I feed. It's the only way the dog eats. So, if the dog blows you off, right, you hit your clicker, you offer food, the dog snubs you, I'm not taking it, no problem. We simply end our session. We say, no, all done. We go and put the dog away, okay, that's it. It's really important, again, that this is the only way the dog eats. The food must be existential and it must be the primary reward, okay? So again, the dog does not take food, no problem. We end our session, we put the dog away, we try again later, right? That could be 2 to 4 hours later or 24 hours later, depending on your dog, right? The problem is a lot of people start this, their dog doesn't have much food drive. So depending on your dog, maybe it's a little overweight, it might take a few extra days to get there, okay? Some dogs may go a day or two with no food. That's okay, you guys. It's harder on us to see our dog go with no food. The dog is fine though, right? We put it away. That is a major consequence, and that is the consequence. The dog doesn't get to eat. So we put the dog away in a kennel, or we back tie it in the house, whatever. We try 4 or 5 hours later or the next day. The longer you wait, the more of a consequence it is, and the more meaning it will have to the dog, okay? Before we move on to obedience, we must have that engagement. I walk, dog takes food. The dog must take food, and the dog must love to take food. Look, I can barely juke this dog. Everything we do is engagement. The dog is activating us. I'm not cheering him on, nothing. I'm walking. The dog has to go, how do I get that food? You can see, boom. Later, we start our obedience. But first, we must have engagement. The dog must want to work. Right there. Once we have this, you must start generalizing it, going to different places, different parks. You must get out in the real world and do this. That's when you might struggle. Dog might do very well at the house or in the backyard, but the front yard, not so much. So the front yard's the only place it eats, right? Then you move on from there. When you have this focus, then we move to the next step, okay? But take your time. Again, for some dogs, it's 2 weeks. Other dogs, it's 4 to 6 weeks of nothing but this, okay? Don't walk your dog. Don't do any of that. Obviously, play with your dog in the house, in the backyard, whatever. Play fetch, tug, but we're not taking dogs on walks. This is the focus, okay? Right there. There you guys go. That is how we start all of our training in building our engagement with our dogs. All right, we'll see you at the next one. Peace.